Hey, welcome to Falcraft. I'm Hammy, hope you're well in our deck intro and guide series where we live and learn and ladder a bit together. We're going to be taking a look at Deathtrap Hunter today. This is a little evolution. You may have seen this deck before if you've played Hearthstone for a while. Spark as they are known on Hearthstone has legended a couple of times on the E. Made a nice little Deathtrap Hunter previously, and then this has added some Goblins versus Gnomes in. It is not a Hunter rush, it is not a huge late game, but what you can certainly do with it is play minions, strong minions every single go. You can make the most of beasts with Web Spinner, with a Animal Companion, put a lot of pressure on, get some free secrets out, of course, with your Haunted Creeper. And then in the mid to late game you still have pressuring options that are very strong, and with the addition of Feigned Death, of course, with Goblins versus Gnomes, Feigned Death very nice in this deck to trigger some things, as we'll see. So what we're going to do is just take a nice quick run through of this deck and how it can work turn by turn, and then finally we're going to jump on into a game or two. So we're going to jump into a couple of games on the ladder as we always do and see how it can work in practice. So Spark has called this Beastie Zoo. If you're on YouTube, welcome. You'll see the link to this deck in the description below. If you are live on stream, twitch.tv/Falcraftcast, I've just posted it in the chat so you can have a look there. So far so normal when you look at the big part of this early deck. If you're newish to Hearthstone, have a look at Undertaker. This explains most of the first half of the mana curve of this deck in the early game. You can see we've got a lot of 1, 2, 3 drops, and then a little bit of stuff continuing through to the late game. Undertaker, when you summon a minion with Deathrattle, gain 1/1. Available with Curse of Naxxramas, or of course craftable. You can then see all of these Deathrattle minions. Lepinome does damage, pressure to the face, Web Spinner draws a card. Take a look at Haunted Creeper for another Deathrattle. Mad Scientist will put in the secrets that I've just moused over. We'll go back to those in a second. And then further on, more big pressury 2-for-1 minions, Piloted Shredder, Savannah Highmane, and things that have Deathrattles that are good. So the first thing, lots of Deathrattles to trigger the Undertaker to be big and bad and nasty. So that is number one. What else do we have? Well, we've got a little bit of flexibility and utility. An Explosive Trap, Freezing Trap, Snake Trap. You can switch those in and out as you see fit to deal with the metagame that you're playing against. So more rushes, why not explosives? More big decks, handlocks, things that throw big minions at you. Ramp decks, why not freezings to bounce those big minions back to their hand as soon as they hit the deck. Also, of course, you've got kill commands. Go nicely with your beasts. Animal Companion generally always gives you something chunky and nice for that, a 3-drop. And with Houndmaster you can use this plethora of beasts. You can create some additional tanks in the early game if you need. Sludge Belcher anchors your game together very nicely in the mid game. So that is the early to early mid game. We ideally get our Deathrattle combos going, get nice big Undertakers, or we just use the big chunky set of minions we have to put pressure on, keep the table under control, very very important, but also make sure that we regularly chip away at our opponent's life. Hunter games, whether you're rushing or not, can be decided very often by the slimmest of margins, very much like Zoo. If your opponent gets back in the game, if they're controlling, if they're counter rushing you, if they're also playing a rush deck. So chipping away for regular damage whilst being able to very very consistently keep the table under control so you don't get stonewalled by a big bunch of tanks. So many big things hitting the table that you can't get past. What is of interest with Goblins versus Gnomes? Of course, you've got the Piloted Shredder, fantastic Deathrattle card, 2-for-1, summoning that random 2-cost minion when it dies unless silenced, very nice indeed. And then note the theme of Deathrattles. Not only do they buff Undertaker, but we just got that one Feigned Death in there, and that one Feigned Death is pretty nice. You really want to play that if you can drop in. If you've got a bunch of Deathrattle minions on the table, remember of course you've only got a 7 minion limit on your side of the table, 7 creatures, whatever you like to call them. So if you're trying to feign death when you've got 5 or 6 creatures and all of them have got Deathrattles, you're not going to be summoning all the Deathrattles that you'd like. So make sure you play it well. But remember, of course, Dr. Boom's Boombots, they can Deathrattle for double the damage. You can throw it down to summon double the Spectral Spiders, double the Piloted Shredder as summoned 2-cost minions, double the 1/2 slimes. Sylvanas, interesting. Feigned Death combo, of course, you can steal control of an opponent's minion whilst keeping your Sylvanas alive. So, double stuff. A big welcome to everyone, of course, live on the stream. Good to see Faradin, Umbra Domo, welcome to you, PG Stark, and Rilajin. It's great to have you with us for the first time on stream, so welcome, hope you enjoy yourself. As we come into Savannah Highmane and Sylvanas Windrunner, if we have a little look in the bottom right hand corner there, you can see Savannah Highmane, nice chunky hunter card. 665, Deathrattle summoning 2 hyenas, feign death on that, you're going to get 4 hyenas rather than 2 hyenas, and your opponent is suddenly staring down the barrel of lots of nasty beasts indeed. So the 1 feign death, there's a feign death hunter that puts all sorts of more crazy Deathrattles in, so you can mix this. This is part secrets, I would say, part traps, part sort of that kind of feign death hunter as well. You can go more hardcore feign death, but this is a pretty nasty, smooth running deck. Dr. Boom, of course, brilliant card with Goblins versus Gnomes. For that 7, and of course he is a legendary, I know, and for those of you looking at the dust cost of this deck, I believe it weighs in around about 6,240. However, the biggest chunk of that is the 3 legendaries, of course, at the end. A lot of this you can probably grab from packs, or the crafting cost is that little bit cheaper. Not huge amounts of epics in there, yes, a few rares, of course, and there are things like the Handmaster, Kill Command, Animal Companion. These are all basic hunter cards that you can get by leveling up the hunter, of course, to level 10 or a little bit further. So lots of cards that you can grab. And then Ragnaros is an all-over finisher that will work some things out. So that is our pretty brief summary of this. How do we play this deck? We try and buff up Undertaker, but at least keep the table under control and chip away for as much damage to the enemy hero as we can. Control table, do damage early to mid game. If we can get a nice buffed Undertaker with those Deathrattle combos, all well and good. In the mid game, we bed down with either position. We should be able to Handmaster a beast for tanks. Sludge Belchers really pin our table together while we push out to do that last bit of damage. So this is pretty much a mid-ranger. With Dr. Boom and Ragnaros, we've got finishers if we need. The Savannah Highmanes can take the game. We could take this game by turn 6 or 7, but if we haven't, then we've got the nice ace in the hole of feign death with all of those Deathrattles that we hopefully have on the table. So that is our summary. And what we're now going to do is jump on in and play maybe 2 or 3 games. You can see we're only ranked 16 on the ladder. If you're playing any deck for the first time, I would really recommend going to casual mode. Don't do this, don't do what I'm doing and go into ladder, go into casual and throw it against a few people in casual. You will, of course, not play a bunch of the decks that you may play at various stages of the ladder, but it's just good to get a feel for it to start with. Because it's a new season, because I'm only low, I've not done any massive pressure or anything for trying to push up the ladder or finally get legend. I'm quite happy to jump in on the ladder. So, big pardon my typing as I say hello live. Right, Mulligan strategy. What do we do with our first hand? Right, we're playing a rogue. No idea what this rogue's doing. And remember, of course, as we're slightly lower on the ladder, we may see a few interesting and different decks. The metagame, of course, at any sort of rank on the ladder can shift. Rank 5 and above is different. Legend is, of course, different and above. And then rank 10 and above, so you will have mixtures. What did I do there? Well, I don't really know what rogue deck my opponent is going to be playing. So I've gone for a fairly solid starting option. I just want, with this deck, low cost minions. I'd like an Undertaker if I can. I just want low cost minions that I can get on the table and start trying to get the table under control with. So I'm pretty happy with that. I've got an Undertaker. That Undertaker turn 1 can turn into a web spinner turn 2. Now there is of course an option here. I could not throw either down and then throw both of them down turn 2. Now this is a risk already. If I play this, sure as eggs, my opponent is going to want to try and remove it as soon as possible. So this is a risk. I could wait till turn 2 if I really wanted and throw down both of them at the same time. Buff it by 1 more health, just makes it that bit harder to remove. And against a rogue there is of course backstab. 2 damage to any undamaged minion. In comes a coin, and I pretty much think we're going to see that removal come out. Goblin Auto Barber. Interesting. So seeing that I'm potentially putting pressure on in the early game, they've gone for a minion that can trade it nice and early. So I could do one of 2 things here. I can throw a freezing trap down and then I can immediately bounce that Auto Barber back to his hand, or I can throw down the web spinner and the leper gnome. That buffs us up to 4 health, and he's not going to be able to quite remove it unless he suicides him with his weapon. So freezing trap would remove this threat. I wonder if there is a bigger minion threat to come. In the early game I want to get a bit of pressure on and keep the table under control. I can do that with these minions. If he does decide to trade this minion to that, he just decide to pop a weapon. Not only have I removed the minion, I've also used up his go effectively by doing that. So a sap, okay, nicely done. 2 mana returns to hand, and I can still throw that down with Deathrattles in the late game. I'm not too upset. Probably a rush to face. Interesting. Okay, gone for the trade. Popped a Scavenging Hyena, and that works very well for me. Whenever a friendly beast dies, gain 1/1. I'm very happy with that. So turns, you've always got to take the options, and here what I'm probably going to go for is get my weapon down. I can Freezing Trap next go, or I can Piloted Shredder. I'm actually going to swing in with the weapon and keep the minion alive. Reason for that, double Deathrattle. So, of course, if I get my Feign Death out, I could Leper Gnome, and that's doing 4 instead of 2. 2 Leper Gnomes down is 8 damage instead of 4. Very, very crazy. Down goes a Dagger Mastery. Looks as though the weapon will probably swing. Look, this rogue at the moment trying to just keep the table under control. Give me a big hug, says Umbradomo. So, options here. Right, I can... interesting. So, when a minion attacks, return to hand. Scavenging Hyena, when a beast dies, game 1/1, I don't have beast to get down. I can Undertaker into a Mad Scientist. I could throw down the trap, and that lets my weapon stay up. So, decisions. When you're ahead, you generally want to get further ahead. Scavenging Hyena, I've got no beasts to benefit from that at the moment. I'm going to try one more shot at an Undertaker and see if I can get that to stick to the table. If not, down goes a Piloted Shredder. Let's throw down some more pressure. Next go. Rilligan says, wonder it's been pirates. Pirate Rogue? Yep, that's been quite fun. We'll see if any pirates flood the table very, very soon. Just a little hey guys mate there for everyone in chat. So far so good. We are getting a little bit of pressure on. We've got some pressure on health. You see turn 4, our opponent's down to 21. Interesting. Swing to the face for that 1 damage. Is our opponent going to be trying to rush us? Very aggressive play there. Knowing of course he might not be able to remove either minion. So he's just gone to get the weapon ready. So if it was Hearthstone a few months ago, I would have said that this person might be playing Miracle. As is, not entirely sure. Right, a Freezing Trap is only of course going to benefit from minions. We've got a Mad Scientist down. I think there's nothing wrong with a Piloted Shredder here, and I'm just going to continue pushing forward. Now, could swing the weapon in here. Turn 6, I'm probably going to play the Savannah, so I'm going to put that additional bit of pressure. Naturally, I didn't get the trap down. No kill of the Mad Scientist to get any secret down, so I didn't have any secrets to get my weapon buffed back up. In comes a bomber, very nice. The bomb lover doing a good job there. Bring up that secret a little bit late. In comes a secret explosive trap. 2 damage to all enemies. My opponent is now down to a mere 11 health. Can I finish them if I had a... Ooh, Dr. Boom is not quite it. We can hit in for 7. That's 8, 9. And then we could do 10, 11. The rogue possibly able to heal up. You do see rogues, of course, playing the... Oh, I've forgotten the name of the shaman that heals you for 3. It will come back to me, as always. So, what options do we have? Well, I think pretty much a charge to the face. We could gamble on whether our opponent's going to finish the game. I'm going to go for the very secure option and swing in for that much. So, my opponent needs overall removal. Only 3 left on the table. Can possibly remove 1. I'm going to pop a 2-cost minion out of that Piloted Shredder if it dies. So far, so good. In comes the trade. Let's see what 2 costs we get. Very nice. Pint-sized summoner. The first minion I play every turn is going to cost 1 less. And with that, a little surrender there. So we don't quite know what that rogue was playing. And of course, let's not hold it against them. Remember, we're playing rank 15, 16. We're not at the higher echelons of the ladder. So that doesn't mean that we're playing bad players. But what it does mean is that we will certainly be playing some newer to more intermediate players, I would say. Or maybe people who are very experienced players but just have a few less cards. Okay, let's try and get in a couple of more games before the end of this half hour, and then because it's a Friday, we'll go on to Fun Friday afterwards. So if you're live, stick in for that. We are playing a Warlock. Now, I don't know as well. Mulligan strategy, always worth thinking about. I do not know whether we are going to be playing a Handlock, a late game Warlock, or a rushing Zoolock. So because of that, my strategy doesn't change too much. If I had a weapon, if I had my 3-drop hunter weapon, I would definitely hang on to that. And with a Voidwalker, still can't tell, but I would probably assume that's going to be some kind of early game nastiness. So let's assume this is a zoo. I have no problems whatsoever with coining into a Leper Gnome. Gives me my 2-3. Now if my opponent's got a Dark Bomb, he'll certainly remove that. Just 2 mana, 3 damage, boom, gone. And immediately I have problems getting past that Voidwalker. You see I've got the Haunted Creeper in hand. Turn 2, Haunted Creeper, that's a 3-4 minion, and I can really start nicely trading against those. Now because of that live tap, could indicate we're actually playing a Handlock. Some Handlocks decide to start with a Voidwalker, and our opponent might be trying to get nasty late game cards out. So therefore, my strategy doesn't change hugely. I want to make sure I have the table under control, and particularly with a late game warlock, a handlock. So really, as we said, strategy doesn't change too much. Pressure to the face, keep the table under control, and you can see that with that second life tap, our opponent's actually probably playing a mid to late game, probably a handlock. We should be looking for giants to come out. Now my job now is pretty simple. I need to kill him or them before they get their big nasty late game combos out. So you can see that by turn 3 we've already, along with their life taps, reduced their health by half. Now I am got a 5 next turn, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16. I've got lethal on turn 4, but I need to make sure that no big tanks go down. And of course Hellfire, wonderful control card, and you can see that I would have had lethal next turn. As is, I've got 6, I've still got lethal. Wasn't that fortunate? So because I've got 1 beast left, in comes the kill command. And because, note that Deathrattle, the Deathrattle of that Haunted Creeper, and I was lucky to get Leok. Leok, if you haven't seen before, that gives all other minions +1, I do believe. Is Leok +1 or +2? I'll have to double check. I've just played the card and I can't remember what it does. But Leok, of course, is the only one of the animal companions. So the 3 mana hunter summons. Leok is the attack buff one. And then you also have the bear, Misha, 4 attack, 4 health taunt. And then also Hogger, Hogger? Not Hogger. Can't remember his name. It's not Hogger, certainly. Hogger is Alliance World of Warcraftness. Okay, so I think we've probably got time, given the brevity of that game, for another couple. And again, we're playing Warlock. It might even be the same Warlock, so I'm not entirely double sure. But Undertaker into a Haunted Creeper, absolutely fine. I remember, of course, I've got that Eagle Horn bow. That's what I was talking about. People trying to... Okay, let's get the bot. Let's get the bot in the house. People in stream trying to get going. So, and again, let's do this. We've got Undertaker turn 1. We can go into a Haunted Creeper turn 2. Eagle Horn. Well, you can just see we've got our curve right there. 2 drop, 3 drop, 4 drop. In comes a coin, and out comes a Dark Bomb on turn 1. Now, can I just check? No, it's a different Warlock this time, but you can see that's what we were anticipating last go. We were thinking that our Warlock friend might throw a Dark Bomb, and indeed this Warlock on this occasion, and it's a different Warlock player from last time, has managed to grab a Dark Bomb. Dark Bomb, of course, the new Goblins versus Gnomes. 2 mana, 3 damage spell. In comes a life tap. So again, note that we might be looking at none other than a bit of a handlock here. So really here, nothing too much wrong with throwing down a weapon. I'm going to swing and do a gentle 3 damage just to make sure we keep a bit of pressure on the opponent. And of course with that 1 durability remaining, I've got Freezing Trap in there that I can always throw down. Freezing Trap, of course, great against handlock. If he has a big minion and he tries to attack, then it's going to bounce to his hand. The one challenge I have, of course, is in this particular hunter, no real silences or ways to get through 2 life taps in a row if you didn't need to know, or if you were worrying as to whether your opponent was playing handlock or not, you now know exactly what they're up to. So no real need for me to Houndmaster at this point. I'm going to get a Shredder down because I don't need the tanks on the table. I'm probably just going to swing for this. Do I want to swing for another 3? I put in danger of getting cheap giants on the table relatively soon, of course. The more damage my opponent's taken, he could drop Molten Giants. So given that in mind, given the fact I don't have the Freezing Trap down just yet, I think a Freezing Trap and a Steady Shot would be good. You can see that this start I've had is a lot slower than my last start, and of course the 4 attack mountain, the 4 mana Mountain Giant costs 1 less for each other card in your hand. So now I play the Freezing Trap, that has to come out. I can throw down a Web Spinner, throw that down, and my opponent, note, because I've attacked him twice to the face there, he knows, he should be able to work out that I'm playing a Freezing Trap. Otherwise I would have probably try to trade the Mountain Giant off the table, because I've done the damage to the face. He knows pretty much if he attacks with this Mountain Giant, it's going to get Freezing Trap back to the hand. So really what a handlock would try and do is throw down tanks, throw down Sun Fury Protector, beg pardon me, throw down Defender of Argus, and there we go, that's what I was looking for, the Earthen Ring Farseer and the card that I just mentioned, their Sun Fury Protector. So there you go, that's immediately created me two huge wall-sized problems that I need to get through. Now I can actually do that okay, so it would be nice of course to kill command to my opponent's face. As it is, I need to find a way of getting through these tanks, and because they've actually not attacked me at this stage. Now as a hunter there's another option I can go for. What I can actually do is just start pressuring away at my opponent. I can throw down 5/7 this go, or I can throw down the Savannah Highmane and turn it into perhaps a tank next go. A final alternative is I can kill command to remove. So kill commands are so nice to go for your opponent's face with, and remember that I have also Feign Death. So I want to keep some pressure on my opponent's face. I'm going to probably throw this down here, put a tank up. Might have been the wrong decision, we'll see how that goes. I'm going to remove one of those, get rid of that. I'm probably going to encourage a trade here, and then I'm going to throw down a final amount of damage. So we've got all of that down, 2 to the face. I've still got the kill command in hand. If I can punch through this next turn, we're going to be close to lethal thereabouts, apart from I've got a Mana Addict. Actually, kill command is a spell. So that will actually buff the Mana Addict up to 3. So 3, okay, we should probably anticipate, and remember of course still got the Freezing Trap, so I've lost that additional durability on my weapon there, which was a little bit of a shame. But I've still got the Freezing Trap, so you can't really attack with anything. What I would imagine my opponent would probably do, if you're playing against a Freezing Trap, you'd attack with your lowest minion that you don't mind actually having back in your hand. So really, my opponent could get more use of outplaying the Sun Fury Protector. It'll only cost 2 mana more. You can throw it down again after another minion and create another tank. So sometimes Freezing Trap against, say, these kind of cards with battle cries can work a little bit against you, depending on obviously your opponent's game state and what they can do. So again, not wanting to return his big giant, would much rather return the card that they can use again. Of course 6/6 could throw down a minion and then tank that up as well, create another tank. But of course I can punch through that next turn with a kill command or with my minions. In comes an Iron Big Cow, silencing, not only removing the Deathrattle but dropping that down, makes it slightly awkward. And then a Hellfire, doubly nasty, dealing that damage to all characters. Finally he can attack with his giant. He did not attack with his giant, I believe. So we've managed to avoid that last little trade. Okay, so we are not down or out by any particular shot. What we do need to do is just take a little rethink. So the kill command, do I want to be risking that against face at the moment? Do I want to get out a Mad Scientist? Look what I've drawn. I've drawn a King Crush of all cards from my web spinner. So kill command, I can remove that. I can put down a Mad Scientist. If I can survive another couple of turns, I can King Crush for the win. It would be nice to get rid of that tank. I don't particularly want to take the damage to face. I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to just do that. Now, it is a bit of a waste of the damage, of course, but I can Savannah Highmane next turn, and then I can King Crush the final turn for the victory. Be right back, 2 seconds while my opponent takes a turn. Can I do a dog cam? But the splendid Shep has just joined us. Righty then, so we've got a Dr. Boom down. That is a nasty potential piece of pressure, and of course we've got Boom too. But you can look at the options and think, righty, I can suicide this. I will have an explosive trap and similar. I don't think my opponent can take me in one go, but I just want to make sure that I can nail my opponent to the wall. So Sylvanas will encourage my opponent to think twice, because if that dies I'm stealing minions and all kinds of things. The Savannah Highmane is equally a big nasty target. So Savannah Highmane or Sylvanas, and then I can also do 2 to the face. I can then sacrifice for either a Snake Trap or an Explosive, and both of them will make my opponent think twice, I feel. I'm thinking Sylvanas, and then the final decision is, do I just do more damage to face? I'm going to go for that. I've got King Crush, so as long as a tank does not hit the table, next go we have a lethal. Or we can have a lethal if we can trade down to having no tank, so this is why I've gone for Sylvanas. And of course remember that if we had a beast on the table, if I played the Highmane and kept the kill command in hand, we could have just potentially steady shotted away for the win. So keeping that damage on is so important. In comes an Ibeak. Sylvanas will get a silence, takes her out of the equation. Now really it's, oh, the Belcher goes down. Now that is nasty. Now if he trades Sylvanas off the table, again I've got a problem. I can't get through that tank. King Crush cannot swing in for the victory. Here comes a Mortal Coil, killing his own minion to draw a card and then throw out the Boombot damage, doing just the one. We're going to probably see another Boombot sacrificed, I would imagine. And then that's going to do however many damage to my face. 4 damage comes in. Snake Trap. One of my minions is attacked. Lots of snakes hit the deck. Okay, so we are close now. We're close and we can smell it. I can throw down a Savannah Highmane. We're going to take 12 damage next go, so we're not out of the woods yet. But I need a way of getting that Belcher off the table. So a Belcher of my own is not going to do the job. What I'm going to do is take a little bit of a risk, throw that down. I'll get the 3/1/1 snakes, and if I have a way of buffing those, of course, do remember that in this deck we have animal companions. We've still not seen those so far this game. What we really need is just to get past that tank, and then we've got King Crush to charge for the victory. And of course, do remember that if we lose this, then the fact that we didn't go for the Savannah Highmane and hold the kill command, that could have been the 4 damage that gets us the victory. Alternatively, if we top deck a kill command into our hand, then that's a win for us. Recombobulator changes it into a similar 7 cost. Ooh, a Guardian of Kings. And because he's made that sleep, that could actually be a big error. He can't trade with that now. If he wants to trade away my Savannah Highmane, he has to do so by trading these 2 minions, unless a Sunfury Protector goes down. There it goes, another 2 tanks. So you can see that as Handlock gets into the late game, we get a few more challenges. And he's actually just going for the face. My opponent's got enough damage, so are we going to lose by the most thin of margins? Let us wait and see. King Crush, we're not going to be able to remove all of these. I can certainly remove this or that. The Animal Companion and a Sludge Belcher will let me tank up a bit and sort of grind my heels in. I can throw down a Crush, but that's not going to survive too long. However, remember that if I throw down 2 shots and I can hang on in, then I can win the game. So I'm going to go for this. Let's throw down a tank. Oh, we've got 2 tanks of our own. Splendid. And then finally, I'm going to go for this trade to remove one of those. So we're now in a position where opponent has to, with the cards in hand, or lose. So we've managed to get them from 4 down to 2, and it's those steady shots that made the difference in this game. So I think I probably made a little bit of a misplay on reflection earlier in the game. I think maybe if we take a look back at this, or if you've just joined us live, I think that potentially going for the Savannah Highmane, holding back that kill command, maybe leaving that giant on the table for 1 more turn might have made the difference. So we've not won yet. Summons the snakes, of course, and of course Snake Trap, handy of course, giving you beasts for your kill command. Don't forget that. Those 1/1 snakes are beasts. See the trades coming in, making good trades, but really our opponent can't live tap, so they need to heal. If they can't heal, then it is game over next turn. Here comes a Hellfire and an honourable suicide for our opponents there. So there we go, that gives us a little win streak, and that brings us, after our experimental decks yesterday, that brings us firmly back into Rank 15 territory and a little win streak there. Hooray! So thank you so much for tuning in. If you're live, don't go away. We're going to do some fun Friday in a second, do some fun stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. There you've seen us take a look at Deathtrap, done by none other than Spark. And you can see the deck that we've been using today either in the YouTube description below if you're on YouTube, or if you're live on stream, I'm just going to throw it into the chat there so you can have a look. Lots of fun, lots of ladder ability, and that's a really consistent deck. Can swap those legends around. Sylvanas nice with the Feign Death, of course. Dr. Boom you can swap for other big minions, and then Ragnaros is really as a trade for some other finisher. So if you don't have those specific legendaries, there are probably a few switches you can make in, but really those are designed to grab you tempo or finish the game in the late game. So I would encourage you to swap those perhaps for other cards that you may own of a similar vein. So thanks for tuning in. Where can you find us? You can find us on youtube.com/FelcraftCast. If you're live, go check that out. Loads of episodes, over 160 of our Hearthstone half hour. If you're on YouTube, come check twitch.tv/FelcraftCast, and always look on Twitter @FelcraftCast as well. So thanks very much for tuning in. If you're live, don't go away. We're going to do some more